Never again should a legal system that dismisses women like Amber Heard as liars and gold diggers silence them. In the aftermath of her legal battle with Johnny Depp, the actress's lawyer delivered a devastating critique. Liar. This phrase was repeated as our car approached the side entrance of the Royal Courts of Justice in London. Fans of Johnny Depp pressed up against the vehicle, hoping to catch a glimpse of his ex-wife Amber Heard through the window. The first day of what was billed as the libel trial of the century had begun. Depp was suing the Sun newspaper for defamation after they called him a wife-beater. He claimed Amber lied about the domestic violence she claimed she had suffered during their relationship. As a human rights barrister, I was representing Amber as she gave evidence in support of the newspaper's case. We could hear the crowd before we saw it, booing, yelling, and yelling. Among them were grown men dressed as Johnny Depp, or at the very least as his film characters Jack Sparrow and Edward Scissorhands. They'd embraced his cause as if it were their own. Men too, gold digger, Amber lies, Amber the abuser. They held placards. They saw in Johnny Depp the victim of a cancel culture allegedly obsessed with bringing white masculinity down. He wasn't just someone suing in expensive defamation proceedings with a large legal team and a PR campaign that only the wealthy can afford. The actor had become an everyman, wrongfully accused and subjected to the same witch hunt that had brought down every guy who had made an inappropriate office joke since Me Too. Every man who had been fired for making now inappropriate comments to junior women at work. They remembered their own ex-wives, custody battles, and child support payments. Maybe they sympathized with Depp when they learned he had sent a message to Elton John calling his ex-wife and mother of his children Vanessa Paradis, a French extortionist C. Maybe they agreed with his texts calling women whores and wishing Amber, his ex, ruin and death. They saw all of this in Johnny Depp. To them, he was an anti-establishment hero, the type he played so convincingly in films. I'd worked on cases that drew a crowd before, including representing WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, but nothing like this had ever happened to me. Misogyny and celebrity fandom collided. I extended my hand to squeeze Amber's. It was 2020, 4 years after a California judge granted her a domestic violence restraining order against Depp. Amber had never spoken publicly about the violence she claimed she experienced during her relationship with Depp, nor did she want to. Amber had only told a judge in California enough detail about the violence to obtain the original restraining order back in 2016, long before Me Too became popular. Depp would not sue until after the #MeToo movement. Given that Amber had been granted a restraining order, Depp sued The Sun in 2018 over an article that questioned J.K. Rowling's decision to cast Depp in her film franchise. Depp was suing for more than £300,000 in damages and an injunction to prevent The Sun from ever again reporting that he was a wife-beater, which would also prevent other media from reporting it. He would later sue Amber in the United States, claiming $50 million in damages, which would have bankrupted Amber. Her legal fees were exorbitant. He had vowed to exact vengeance on her after she had abandoned him. She's begging for total global humiliation. He wrote in a text message to his agent. She's going to get it. He was finally getting his way, thanks to the law. Following allegations of sexual misconduct by Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein, the Me Too movement went viral in 2017. Me Too is, at its core, about survivors speaking out and finding solidarity in one another. Speaking out is a powerful act in a culture of shame and silence, where survivors are kept apart from one another. In some ways, the Me Too movement is a reaction to legal systems that do not serve women and girls, either because the laws are insufficient or because the legal system's response to victims and survivors is flawed. Only 14% of sexual violence victims report the assault to police, and even if sexual assault and rape are reported, prosecutions and convictions remain depressingly low. In Britain, only 1.6% of rapes reported to the police result in a charge, a rate so low that the UK Victims Commissioner, Dame Vera Baird, has said that we are witnessing the decriminalisation of rape. Even smaller again is the number of men who are actually convicted. In the UK, less than 1% of rape cases result in conviction. But something has been happening as a reaction to the Me Too movement. As women have been empowered to break their silence, they have faced a different kind of silencing, the silencing of those who speak out by and through the law. The spike in the number of survivors speaking out has been followed by a spike in legal actions against them and the journalists who want to report their stories, in defamation, in contract, in privacy, and in breach of confidence. By far the most common legal action we have seen used against women who have spoken out or reported gender-based violence is the libel suit. Defamation law allows a person to sue for damage caused to their reputation. As lawyers, we have seen this in our practice and watched it happen all around the world. The courts have become the battlefield, where judges grapple with competing rights, a woman's right to speak about gender-based abuse and a man's right to reputation. For lawyers who understood media law, it came as no surprise that Depp chose to sue in London, where defamation law is notoriously pro-claimant. The Sun's article wasn't the first to report on the claims of assault made against him, but the actor and his lawyers chose the Sun as the defendant, a tabloid that they perhaps thought would be unlikely to arouse the sympathy of much of the public, or of fellow celebrities or Hollywood executives. Amber was merely a witness, asked by the Sun to give evidence to help them prove she had not lied about the abuse she suffered in their relationship. Soon after he sued, Depp's PR campaign had kicked into gear. GQ magazine reported he had hired crisis management firm Hawthorne, which acts for exceptionally wealthy clients, call if there's no one else to call. Its staff were wolfmen, fixers, public image adjustment specialists. In the lead-up to the UK trial, there was a full-scale effort to paint Amber as a liar and abuser, and Depp as the nice guy victim, the well-known tactic to deny, attack and reverse the role of the victim and offender, or DARVO for short. Celebrity friends gave statements in support of Depp, including his ex-wife Vanessa Paradis, who said it was not the true Johnny she knew. Another ex, Winona Ryder, said the allegations were impossible to believe, though, significantly, neither she nor Paradis appeared in the London court, which would have allowed them to be cross-examined. It was later reported that Ryder had hired a former U.S. prosecutor to block the use of her testimony. Meanwhile, a sea of online trolls targeted Amber, us as her lawyers, and the journalists reporting on the case. We were flooded with what appeared to be bot-generated emails and tweets saying that we had been associating with a criminal and an abuser.